Crash in the crimson wastes, the Martian wind howled through the canyon like a dying beast, carrying red dust that coated everything in Duran Cross's research station. He'd grown used to the isolation, preferred it even. After what happened on Earth, the solitude of the terraformed valleys suited him. Here, among the toxic flora he studied, failure meant only the loss of specimens, not lives. The explosion shattered his evening routine. Darren's head snapped toward the western viewport, where an orange fireball streaked across the darkening sky. Not a meteor, the trajectory was too controlled, too desperate. A ship, and it was coming down hard. He grabbed his emergency kit and enviro suit, old instincts from his trauma surgeon days overriding his hermit's caution. The crash site was 2 kilometers out, marked by a column of black smoke twisting into the rust-colored sky. Darren's rover bounced over the rough terrain, his pulse quickening despite himself. Probably a cargo freighter, maybe smugglers. He should call the Mars Authority. He kept driving. The wreckage was smaller than expected. A sleek vessel of unfamiliar design, its hull a dark obsidian that seemed to absorb light. Definitely not human-made. The hatch had been blown from the inside, and through the smoke, Darren spotted a figure crawling from the debris. His breath caught. She was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Her skin was a deep, rich purple that seemed to shimmer in the fading light. And she wore form-fitting armor designed for combat, now scorched and torn. As he approached, she collapsed onto the red sand, her body convulsing. "Hey, can you hear me?" Darren knelt beside her, his medical training taking over. Her breathing was rapid and shallow, and when he gently turned her face toward him, found himself staring into eyes of molten gold, beautiful, fierce, and filled with pain. "Stay, ... back," she gasped, her accent strange and melodic. "Poisoned, ... dangerous, ... But Duran was already scanning her with his portable medical unit. The readings made his blood run cold. Some kind of neurotoxin, unlike anything in his database, spreading through her system like wildfire. She had ours at most. "I'm taking you to my station." "Don't argue. Don't have time to argue." She tried to protest, her warrior's pride evident even through the agony, but another convulsion silenced her. Duran lifted her carefully. She was surprisingly light despite her muscular build and carried her to the rover. Her armor was warm against his chest, and he could feel the rapid flutter of her pulse. Back at the station, he laid her on his examination table under the harsh lights. Now he could see her properly, the elegant lines of her face, the intricate patterns etched into her purple skin like tribal markings. The way her dark hair fell in waves that seemed to shift colors in different angles. She was stunning in an otherworldly way that made his heart race for reasons that had nothing to do with the emergency. "What's your name?" he asked, hooking her up to his diagnostic equipment. "YSS ... She managed, her golden eyes finding his. "Lisa's KAV Ryan ... talk toward tracker ... I'm Duran, and I'm going to help you, Lisa's." "Bess!" She laughed bitterly, blood a strange silver color trickling from the corner of her mouth. "You can't. Shadow fang venom. Only my people ... Know the cure." Darren's AI assistant, a holographic interface named Iris, materialized beside him. "Dr. Cross, I've analyzed the toxin. It's based on a rare alkaloid that targets neural pathways. Standard antidotes are ineffective. Options?" Duran demanded, his hands already preparing an IV to at least keep Lisa's hydrated. "One theoretical approach. The venom bonds with specific proteins in Celestian blood. However, human blood has analogous proteins that might neutralize the toxin if used as a filtration medium." Lisa's grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "No, I heard that. It would kill you ... double quotes, maybe? Maybe not." Darren met her eyes, seeing his own reflection in those pools of gold. Something passed between them in that moment recognition, perhaps, of two souls who'd been running from connection for too long. "Why?" she whispered. "You don't even know me ... Darren smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "No, but I'd like to." The impossible choiceless's breathing grew more labored as Darren prepared the blood exchange apparatus. His hands moved with practiced precision, setting up the dual filtration system that would pump her blood through his body and back into hers. Iris projected the procedure's parameters in glowing blue holograms around the room. Survival probability for the patient. 78%, Iris announced clinically. Survival probability for you, Dr. Cross. 32%. I've faced worse odds, Duran muttered, though his hands trembled slightly as he inserted the first IV into his arm. Liar, Lisa said weakly, watching him through half-closed eyes. You're terrified. I can smell it. He paused, meeting her gaze. You're right. I am. But I'm doing it anyway. Why? She tried to sit up, but lacked the strength. On my world, strangers don't sacrifice for each other. It's foolish. ... Weakness. Darren moved to her side, gently pressing her back down. This close. Could see the subtle variations in her purple skin, darker along her shoulders and arms where her armor had protected her, lighter along her neck and collarbone. She was beautiful in a way that transcended species. Maybe I'm tired of being careful, he said quietly. After the outbreak on Earth, I lost 12 patients in one night. Kids, mostly. I couldn't save them, so I ran here, to Mars, to study plants instead of people. But maybe. He secured the second 4 in her arm, his fingers lingering on her skin, cooler than human, but not unpleasantly so. Maybe this is my chance to actually save someone. Lissa's golden eyes glistened. You're insane, ... Probably. Smiled and activated the machine. The first rush of her blood into his system felt like liquid fire. Darren gasped, gripping the edge of the table as the toxin hit his neural pathways. His vision blurred, and he heard Lisa's cry out his name the first time she'd said it before. Darkness swallowed him when consciousness flickered back. Darren found himself on the floor, Lisa's leaning over him. She disconnected herself from the machine and was now attempting to drag him toward the medical bed. Her movements still weak, but determined. The procedure, managed through clenched teeth. Every nerve in his body screamed. Her voice broke with an emotion he hadn't expected. Fear, but not for herself. For him, finish it, ... Darren grabbed her wrist, his grip weak. Please, or we both ... die. She stared at him, conflict warring across her features. Then, with a sound somewhere between a growl and a sob, she reconnected the lines and helped him onto the second bed. As the machine resumed its work, Darren felt her cool hand slip into his. You're the most idiotic human I've ever met, she whispered. You've met other humans? He asked, trying to focus through the pain. Traitors, soldiers, none like you. Her thumb traced circles on his palm. They all wanted something: money, information, pleasure. You're the first who just ... gave. The toxin surged through Duran's system again, and he convulsed. Lisa's held him down with her returning strength, her face inches from his. Stay with me, Darren Cross. You saved me, now I need you to save yourself. Time became meaningless. Hours blurred together in waves of agony and brief respites. Through it all, Lisa's remained beside him, her voice a constant anchor. She told him stories of her world Celesta Prime, with its violet skies and crystal cities. She spoke of her training as a tracker, hunting the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. And in her quieter moments, she revealed the losses that had hardened her: a family slaughtered in a war, a lover betrayed. Years of building walls around her heart. I made myself cold, she confessed during one of his lucid moments. Cold like the void between stars. I thought it made me strong. But watching you fight this poison ... for me, her voice cracked. You're stronger than any warrior I've known. Iris interrupted their moment. The toxin levels are dropping significantly in both subjects. The exchange is working. Lissa's face lit up with hope. He'll survive? Probability increasing. Now, at 61%? She squeezed Darren's hand tighter. Fight, you stubborn human. Fight. As the third day approached, Darren's fever finally broke. The toxin filtered through his alien metabolism. had neutralized enough for both their bodies to handle the remaining traces. Lisa's, now strong enough to move freely, had taken over his care with a tenderness that surprised them both. She bathed his fevered skin with cool water, prepared broths from his supplies, and read to him from his journals, learning about the man who'd given everything for a stranger. His notes revealed a brilliant mind, a wounded soul, and a deep loneliness that mirrored her own. On the third night, as Duran finally slept peacefully, Lisa sat in his desk chair, watching the rise and fall of his chest. The man had risked his life without hesitation, without expectation of reward. In her universe of mercenaries and killers, such purity was supposed to be a myth. She stood and crossed to his bedside, studying his face in the soft glow of Mars's moons through the viewport. Human features so different from her own. Yet somehow, they'd reached across the void between species and touched something fundamental. "I don't know what you've awakened in me," she whispered, brushing hair from his forehead. "But I'm terrified it's too late to stop." Dawn on Mars was a strange, muted thing, the sun rising pale and distant, casting long shadows across the red landscape. Lisa stood at the viewport, watching the light creep across the valley. She'd barely slept in 3 days, afraid that if she closed her eyes, Darren would slip away. Behind her, he stirred. She was at his side instantly, her heart racing in a way that had nothing to do with combat adrenaline. Lisa's. His voice was rough, but clear. His eyes deep brown, so different from her gold focused on her face. You're alive. Because of you, you reckless fool." She tried to sound angry, but relief flooded her words. "How do you feel?" "Like I was trampled by a Martian sandcrawler." He attempted to sit up, and she helped him, her hand supporting his back. The touch sent an unexpected warmth through her. "But alive. We both are." "The toxin is still in your system," she said, scanning him with his own equipment. "Lower levels, but you need rest." "Days of it, then I'm in good hands." He smiled weakly, and something in her chest constricted. Over the following days, their roles reversed completely. Lisa's, regaining her formidable strength, became his nurse. She learned to operate his equipment, to prepare human food, often burning it at first, which made him laugh despite his weakness. That laugh became her favorite sound. "On Celesta," she told him one evening, while helping him walk around the station, his arm draped across her shoulders, "we have a saying, strength is solitude. Weakness is need. I built my life on that principle." "Sounds lonely," Duran observed. Leaning more heavily on her than necessary, she suspected, just to feel her closeness. It was. She guided him to the observation window. Mars's twin moons, Phobos and Deimos, hung in the darkening sky. Was. "I don't know anymore." Darren turned to look at her, and she was struck again by how openly he expressed emotion. No warrior's mask, no calculated distance. "What changed?" "You did." The admission came easier than she expected. 3 days ago, I would have let myself die rather than accept help. Pride, you'd call it. Self-sufficiency, we call it. But you didn't give me that choice. You just ... gave. His hand found hers, his fingers interlacing with her purple ones. The contrast fascinated her, his tan skin against her violet, so different yet fitting together perfectly. "I'm glad I was stubborn." She helped him back to bed, but he held onto her hand. "Stay." Lisa's hesitated, then settled onto the edge of the bed. "I found your journals. I hope you don't mind. I was trying to understand you. Find anything interesting?" He didn't seem bothered by the invasion of privacy. "You're a brilliant botanist. Your research on adaptive toxins could revolutionize agriculture." She paused, her thumb tracing the veins on the back of his hand. "You're also running from something." "The outbreak." "The children." Darren's expression darkened. "I was the head of emergency medicine in New Seattle. When the plague hit, I couldn't save them. 12 kids in one shift? I tried everything, but the pathogen mutated faster than we could treat it. After that, I couldn't face another patient. Couldn't risk failing again. You came here to study poisons instead of cure them. Seemed safer. plants don't look at you with dying eyes and ask why you can't help them. Lisa's leaned closer, her free hand cupping his cheek. But you saved me. Doesn't that matter? You're different. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. From the moment I saw you even poisoned and dying, you were ... extraordinary. I couldn't let you die. Wouldn't. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Lisa's had trained herself to recognize tactical situations, to calculate risks and outcomes. But whatever this was building between them, defied every calculation. Her pulse quickened as his eyes dropped to her lips. Darren ... She began, but he pulled her down gently, his lips finding hers. The kiss was soft, tentative, a question rather than a demand. Lisa's froze for half a heartbeat, then melted into it, her hand sliding into his hair. He tasted like the bitter tea she'd been making him, and something underneath that was uniquely him. When they finally parted, both were breathless. I'm sorry, he said quickly. I shouldn't have. She silenced him with another kiss. Deeper this time, years of enforced solitude cracking open. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against his. In my world, love is a weakness. A vulnerability enemies exploit. I've seen warriors destroyed by it, and now I'm beginning to think maybe they were destroyed because they fought against it instead of letting it make them stronger. She traced the line of his jaw. You terrify me, Duran Cross. You and whatever you're making me feel. He wrapped his arms around her, and she laid her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, the heart that had nearly stopped for her. I'm scared too, he admitted. I've been hiding for 3 years. But with you, I don't want to hide anymore. They lay together as Mars rotated beneath the stars. Two beings from different worlds learning the same truth, that sometimes the bravest thing isn't facing death, but facing the vulnerability of connection. Duran woke to the smell of something burning again. He smiled before opening his eyes, recognizing the now familiar sound of Lisa's cursing and Celestian from the kitchen area. 5 days had passed since their first kiss, and each morning brought new evidence of the alien warrior trying, and often failing, to master human cooking. I swear your food preparation devices are designed to sabotage me, she growled as he approached, wearing only sleep pants. Still moving carefully, but much stronger now. The sight that greeted him made him laugh despite her glare. Lisa stood before the stove, her purple skin smudged with what looked like scrambled eggs, or what had once been eggs, her hair tied back in a messy knot. She wore one of his oversized shirts, and the domesticity of the scene struck something deep in his chest. Here, let me help. He moved behind her, his arms encircling her waist as he reached for the pan. The heat setting is, well, lower than whatever temperature your people use to forge weapons. She leaned back against him with a frustrated sigh. I've tracked criminals across 3 star systems, survived assassination attempts, and mastered 17 forms of combat. But your breakfast defeats me. That's because you fight it. He adjusted the temperature, salvaging what he could. Cooking is more like negotiation. You work with the ingredients, not against them. Lisa's turned in his arms, her golden eyes catching the morning light. Is that what we're doing? Negotiating? I'd like to think we're past negotiations. Hands settled on her hips, and he marveled again at how natural this felt, holding an alien woman in his kitchen on Mars. Feeling more at home than he had in years, she kissed him slowly, thoroughly, her cool lips warming against his. These morning kisses had become ritual, each one deeper than the last, both of them gradually surrendering to what was growing between them. Your heart rate increases when you kiss me, she murmured against his mouth. I can hear it. Perks of enhanced hearing? Perks of paying attention? She pulled back slightly, her expression growing serious. Darren, we need to talk about what happens next. My ship's distress beacon is still active. My people will come looking. The words hung between them like a blade. Duran had been avoiding this conversation, pretending they existed in a bubble outside time and consequence. When? Could be days, could be weeks. The Celestian void doesn't abandon its trackers. She moved to the viewport, hugging herself. They'll expect me to complete my mission. The weapons dealer I was tracking, he's still out there. selling technology that could destabilize entire systems. Darren joined her, his hand finding the small of her back. And you want to go after him? It's what I do, what I am. She turned to face him. But I don't want to leave you. Then don't. The words escaped before he could stop them, or, let me come with you. Her eyes widened. Darren, you're a botanist, not a soldier. The places I go, the things I face. I was a trauma surgeon in a war zone before I came here, he interrupted. I'm not helpless. I'm tired of running leases. You've said it yourself, if I've been hiding from life. Maybe it's time I actually lived it. She studied him for a long moment, and he could see the war in her expression, the trained warrior warring with the woman who'd discovered she could care. Finally, she took his hands in hers. If you come with me, there's no turning back. The universe out there isn't like your research station. It's violent, chaotic, and unforgiving. Sounds like the emergency room on a Saturday night. He squeezed her hands. Besides, you'll need someone to patch you up when you throw yourself into danger. I've seen your combat logs. You have a terrible habit of getting injured. That earned him a genuine laugh. You read my mission reports? Read everything I could find about you? Fair is fair. You read my journals. The tension broke, and she pulled him into a fierce embrace. You're insane. Completely insane. Takes one to know one. He kissed the top of her head. Besides, we should probably figure out if this, he gestured between them, is just proximity and gratitude or something more. Lisa's pulled back, her expression intense. You think I would kiss you out of gratitude? I think both of us have been alone for a long time. I think we found each other in extraordinary circumstances. I think we should be sure before we... She kissed him hard enough to cut off his words, her hands fisting in his hair. When she finally released him, both were breathing heavily. Still think this is gratitude? She asked, her voice husky. No, he admitted, his hands sliding under the shirt she wore, finding the smooth skin of her waist. But I needed to give you an out, in case you wanted one. I don't. She walked him backward toward the bedroom, her eyes never leaving his. I've had 300 years of outs, Duran, of walls and distance and safety. You've shown me something different. Something worth the risk? 300 years? He stopped. Wait, how old are you? She smiled mysteriously. Celestians age differently. I'm considered young by my people's standards. Does it matter? Not even a little. He lifted her easily, carrying her the rest of the way to the bed. But you're going to have to tell me more about your world, especially if I'm going to visit it. They fell together onto the mattress, a tangle of different colored limbs and rising passion. Lys's hands explored his body with the same careful attention she'd shown while nursing him, learning his scars, his sensitive places, the sounds he made when she touched him just right. You're beautiful, she whispered, tracing the line of muscle down his abdomen. Abdomen? Your species is softer than mine, more vulnerable. Yet you're so strong where it matters. Darren rolled her beneath him, pinning her wrists gently above her head. Her purple skin flushed darker with arousal, and he kissed along her collarbone, tasting the unique sweetness of her. You're one to talk about beauty? Do you have any idea what you do to me? She arched beneath him, a low sound of pleasure escaping her throat. Show me. They made love slowly, learning each other's bodies with wonder and care. Every touch was a revelation, the way she shivered when he kissed the markings on her shoulders, the way he gasped when her cooler skin slid against his warmth. They spoke in whispered words and shared breaths. Two beings from different worlds discovering a universal language. Afterward, they lay tangled together, the Martian sun streaming through the viewport. Lisa's traced patterns on his chest, her expression contemplative. In Celestian culture, she said quietly, there's a bonding ritual. When two warriors choose each other, they exchange blood, a symbol of shared strength and shared risk. Duran turned to look at her. We've already done that. Sort of, yes. She met his eyes. But that was survival. This would be choice. Commitment. Are you asking me? I'm saying that what we have, this connection, it's real. It's not just proximity or gratitude or loneliness. And when my people come, I want them to know you're mine. If you want to be, Darren cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheek. I've never wanted anything more. But Lisa's, I need you to know, I'm not a warrior. I can't promise I'll always be brave or strong. I'll probably panic in your world, make mistakes. You drank poison for me, she interrupted. You faced a 32% chance of survival without hesitation. Don't tell me you're not brave. She kissed him softly. I don't need another warrior. I need you, the healer. Who reminded me that caring isn't weakness? Then yes. He smiled against her lips. Whatever bonding ritual you want, whenever you want it. I'm yours. They sealed the promise with another kiss, and as Mars rotated beneath them, two hearts from different worlds beat in synchrony, creating something entirely new. The alarm woke them 3 days later, harsh, mechanical sound that shattered the peaceful morning. Lisa's was on her feet instantly, her warrior instincts overriding the soft domesticity they'd built. Darren followed more slowly, still not quite at full strength. What is it? He asked, watching her move to the communications console with lethal grace. Ship incoming. Celestian signature. Her fingers flew across the interface, and a holographic display materialized, showing a sleek vessel approaching from orbit. It's the Shadow Talami unit's extraction ship. Darren's stomach tightened. This was it, the moment their bubble burst. How long do we have? 20 minutes until landing. She turned to him, and he saw the conflict in her golden eyes. Darren, I need to tell you something about what happens next. I'm coming with you. We agreed. Let me finish. She crossed to him, taking his hands. My commander, Vex Corridon, is ... complicated. He's brilliant, ruthless. And he doesn't believe in personal attachments. When I tell him about you, about us, he'll test you. Probably try to separate us. Let him try. Darren's jaw set stubbornly. I didn't survive your poison just to lose you to bureaucracy. A slight smile touched her lips. That's what I'm counting on. But there's more. The weapons dealer I was tracking, Sarek Venhe's, worse than I initially told you. He's not just selling technology. He's trafficking in bioweapons, including the toxin that nearly killed us both. Darren's eyes widened. You think he was specifically targeting you? I know he was. Which means when we go after him, he'll be ready. It won't be clean or safe. She squeezed his hands. I need you to understand what you're walking into. This isn't adventure, it's war. I understand. He pulled her close, breathing in her unique scents, something like ozone and night-blooming flowers. But I'm not letting you face it alone. Not anymore. They dressed quickly, Lisa's donning her repaired armor, Duran packing a medical kit, and essential supplies. As they worked, Iris materialized with a notification. Dr. Cross, I've prepared the research data you requested. All files on adaptive toxins and their potential medical applications have been compiled. Thank you, Iris. Duran glanced at Lisa's. If I'm leaving, might as well bring something useful. My research could help develop antidotes to bioweapons. Always the healer, she said fondly. Even when preparing for battle, the Shadow Talon landed in a whirlwind of red dust, its black hole seeming to drink in the Martian light. The hatch opened. 3 figures emerged, 2 Celestian warriors flanking a taller male whose presence radiated command. Vex. Corridon was imposing even by Celestian standards. His purple skin was darker than Lisa's, almost indigo, and covered in intricate scars that spoke of countless battles. His eyes, a piercing silver, locked onto Lisa's with an intensity that made Duran instinctively step closer to her. Drekker Cavrion. Vex's voice was deep, each word precisely measured. Your silence has been concerning. We tracked your beacon to this location and found complications, Commander. Lisa stood at attention, but her hand found Darren's. I was poisoned during the ambush. Shadowfang. Venom. This human saved my life through an experimental blood exchange. His name is Darren Cross, and he's coming with us. Vex's silver eyes shifted to Darren, assessing him with the cold calculation of a predator. A human, how, ... unexpected. He circled them slowly. You understand, Dr. Cross, that Celestian operations are classified. We cannot simply allow outsiders to, with respect, Commander, Darren interrupted. his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I'm not asking permission. I'm stating fact. Where Lisa's goes, I go." The other two warriors tensed, hands moving toward weapons, but Vex held up a hand. A slow, dangerous smile spread across his face. Bold, foolish, but bold. He turned to Lisa's. "This human has claim on you. We have bonded," Lisa said firmly. "By choice and by blood. He is mine, and I am his." Murmurs from the other warriors. Apparently, this was significant. Vex's expression shifted from amusement to something harder to read, respect, perhaps. Mixed with concern, then he must prove himself worthy of a Celestian bond, Vex gestured. And one of the warriors tossed a blade at Darren's feet. "Combat trial. If he survives 3 minutes against me, he may join us." "No." Lisa stepped between them. "Commander, he's still recovering. This isn't fair. Life isn't fair, Tracker. You taught me that." Vex's eyes glittered. 3 minutes. Or he stays here, and you complete your mission alone. Darren picked up the blade, testing its weight. It was similar to the knives he'd trained with during his military medical service a lifetime ago, it seemed. "I accept. But one condition." Vex raised an eyebrow. "You're in no position to negotiate, human." Nevertheless, Tyron met his gaze without flinching. "When I last 3 minutes, not if. Can you tell us everything you know about Sarek Ven, including why he targeted Lisa specifically?" A long silence. Then Vex laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "I see why you chose him, Cavrion. It's very well. Your terms are accepted." The fight was brutal. Vex moved with the speed and precision of a seasoned killer. And within seconds, Darren was bleeding from a dozen shallow cuts. But 3 years in the Martian wilderness had taught him patience and adaptation. He didn't try to match Vex's strength. He used the environment, ducking behind equipment. Using the terrain to his advantage, Lisa's watched with her heart in her throat, every instinct screaming to intervene. But she knew Duran needed to prove to Vex, to the others, and to himself that he belonged in her world. At 2 minutes, Duran was flagging. Vex pressed his advantage, driving him back toward the rover. Then Duran did something unexpected. He threw a handful of Martian sand mixed with one of his toxic plant samples, directly into Vex's face. The commander stumbled, temporarily blinded, and Darren swept his legs out from under him. When Vex hit the ground, Darren's blade was at his throat. 3 minutes, Darren panted, checking his chronometer. Actually, 3 minutes and 12 seconds. The other warriors stood stunned. No one, especially not a human, had ever bested their commander in combat. Vex, wiping the irritant from his eyes, started to laugh. "You fight dirty, Dr. Cross? I approve." He stood, clasping Darren's shoulder hard enough to bruise. "You've earned your place aboard the Shadow Talon. Welcome to the unit." As they boarded the ship, Lisa's gripped Darren's hand tightly. "You threw toxic sand at a Celestian commander. You're completely insane. You mentioned that before." He grinned, adrenaline still coursing through him. "Besides, you said I should use what I know. I know botany and improvisation." Inside the ship, Vex kept his promise. He laid out intelligence on Sarek Venna, former Celestian scientist turned arms dealer who'd stolen experimental bioweapons, including Shadowfang venom. His next sale was scheduled for a black market station in the Kepler Reach in 6 days. He targeted you specifically. "Cavrion, because you were getting too close to his operation," Vex explained. "Holographic displays showing Sarek's known locations. He wanted to test his new toxin on one of our best trackers. 2 birds, 1 poisoned blade." "Then he failed," Lisa said coldly. "And now we're coming for him." "Correct." Vex looked at Darren. "Your medical expertise will be invaluable. If Sarek has weaponized other toxins, we'll need someone who can develop countermeasures quickly." Darren nodded, already thinking through possibilities. "I'll need access to your medical databases and lab facilities." "You'll have them." Vex stood, preparing to leave the briefing room. "But Dr. Cross, understand this, out there in the void. Your relationship with Tracker Cavrion will be tested in ways you cannot imagine. Distance, danger, duty, all of it will try to tear you apart. Most bondings don't survive the first mission.
How?
Most bondings probably didn't start with a blood exchange to cure alien poisoning, Darren replied. We've already survived the impossible once. We'll do it again. After Vex left, Lisa's led Duran to her quarters, a small but functional space that would now belong to both of them. She sealed the door and immediately pulled him into a fierce embrace. You could have died down there, she whispered against his neck. Vex is one of the best fighters in the fleet. But I didn't die. And now we're together, heading into the stars. He tilted her face up. No regrets? Only one. She kissed him deeply. That I didn't find you sooner. They made love in the dim light of her quarters as the ship broke orbit, leaving Mars behind. It was different from their first time, urgent, almost desperate. A reaffirmation that they'd survived another test and emerged stronger. Afterward, lying in the narrow bunk with Lisa's draped across his chest, Duran stared out the viewport at the stars streaming past. He'd come to Mars to hide from life, from pain, from the risk of caring. Now he was hurtling through space with an alien warrior who'd turned his entire world upside down. What are you thinking? Lisa's asked, tracing the new scars Vex had given him. That 3 weeks ago, I was alone on Mars, studying plants and avoiding human contact. Now, I'm on an alien warship, planning to help hunt down an intergalactic arms dealer, bonded to the most extraordinary woman I've ever met. He kissed her forehead. Life is strange. Is it too much? She propped herself up to look at him. Are you afraid? Terrified, he admitted, but also more alive than I've been in years. You did that, Lisa's. You and your impossible situation. You reminded me that life worth living requires risk. She smiled, that rare, genuine expression that he'd come to treasure. Then